It had maybe an hour or two before it'd be listing, 4 or 5 before it sank entirely. This is if it wasn't towed into port and repaired, sharpish. At this point, you have to keep in mind that once I saw someone attack Raggy, I just reacted and neutralized the immediate threat. I didn't actually see how hurt he was. I just saw the attack. My torch beam is focused on the boxes, and almost everything else in the hold is plunged back into darkness. Once we're certain the threat is gone, I start going to check on Raggy. I shine my torch and I see Raggy's face. His eyes are wide open. That look of shock in them still clear as day, and there's a little bit of blood around his lips, so I know he's not in a good way. Then I notice the amount of blood on the deck, and then I notice the thing that's haunted me ever since. That Raggy's head wasn't attached to his body anymore. It was just lying there next to the stump of his neck, which was still absolutely gushing with blood.
Oh my God.
His attacker must have brought his machete right through his neck, meaning they'd kept it abominably sharp. Add that to the fact that they were just hiding there when they could have gotten away in the dinghy, or at least pretend to be a fisherman, and the conclusion you get is that this monster literally just wanted to kill some policemen and Marines. Usually we take a casualty on operations. There's a pretty standard procedure we'd go through. Secure the area, give first aid, that sort of thing. But it wasn't like it was just a gunshot wound to the leg, something you could whack a tourniquet on after applying a bit of pressure. Raggy was brown bred properly. There was just nothing we could do for him. We obviously had to hang around for a medevac and all that, getting both bodies off the ship before we arrested blokes on board. Only then could we search the hold, which by that time was already filling up with seawater that mixed with Raggy's blood. Once that was done, it wasn't any of our business anymore. We headed back to the ship while other Royal Navy personnel took over and tugged the fishing boat into port somewhere. Had a debrief, went over where we went wrong, and the OC told me I'd be offered the Royal Navy's own special brand of trauma counseling once we got back to the UK. But other than that, I was left just to process the sudden decapitation of someone I'd come to care about immensely. It was grim, and to an extent, it's just the nature of the job. But even on my Iraq and Afghan deployments, I'd never seen anything quite like Raggy's severed head, just lying there on the deck of the hull.
I applied for Smorgasburg, and I became the youngest vendor there.
Camera's in the wrong place.
We are just starting the baking process. I started this company when I was 13 by selling banana bread just on the street.
Thought you were over here already. But anyways, I went like this.
He came to one day and goes,
And I'm like,
okay, I want to start
that's
a
what
business.
makeup brushes.
I was like, oh.
I was
Making
raised
brushes.
on my mom's banana bread. So I just thought it's a great product. I can market it very, very well, and I just went with it. I started a website. Got a lot of orders the first month, and then it just kept on expanding and getting larger. It was kind of like a dream. Right? When I reach out to some cafes or some like offices,
He went
they
flying
do
off of
sometimes
the air
ignore me,
mattress.
but a lot of adults aren't able to like trust that
No.
they would come through. They were the first people to take a chance on me.
The banana bread just quickly became something that people would come in for. I've always...
What do you think of when someone mentions Cuba? Probably cigars, the missile crisis thing, all those cars from the 50s they have, maybe even Cubano music like Buena Vista Social Club. But whenever I hear the word Cuba, I think of my old neighbor, Ricardo. Ricardo, or Ricky as he insisted on being called, lived in the apartment above me in Miami when I was working down there. He and his boyfriend would often spend their evenings on the little balcony area near their apartment's front door. And whenever they caught me returning home from work, they'd always offer me a daiquiri or a saoco. A daiquiri I could turn down, but a saoco? No way. For those that don't know, a saoco is like a rum cocktail made with coconut water. The first sip, you're like, this is new. Not sure if I like it, but it's new. Second sip is like, okay, I'm getting into this. And by the third sip, you're like, this is my life now. Viva la vida de Saoko. So there was me, Irish-American Long Islander, chilling with the gay neighbors for a few hours every week. The conversation never really advanced past small talk, and I was only ever truly engaged whenever they were giving me hints on how to pick up cubanitas. So, it's not like we talked about anything too heavy. But one day, my curiosity got the better of me, and I started asking Ricky about Cuba. Most Cubans will immediately smile when you ask them about La Patria, or the homeland. Even with all the crazy stuff that's happened there, they'll tell you how much they miss it, about families they left behind. Like you get a general sense that it's a messed up country, but they still kind of love it, you know? A concept that won't seem all that alien to most Americans, I know either. But not Ricardo. Ricardo didn't have a single good word to say about Cuba, and immediately that struck me as strange. Maybe I should have just minded my own business. It's not exactly the politest or well-meaning conversation to be like, yo, tell me all your childhood traumas, bro. But I couldn't help myself. I mean, sure, I wanted to get to know my neighbors a little bit better, but I also wanted to know what happened to make the Cuban
Now he's like, I'm just moving.
display such contempt for their country's
No.
origin.
I was
When
comfortable
I
until
finally
you
asked
came
the
here,
fateful
baby.
question, how did he end up moving to
I'm
the U.S.?
leaving.
Ricardo sighed. His boyfriend, Andrew, immediately got up to top up their drinks, almost like he knew what was coming. And so, he started telling me the story. I'll do my best to remember exactly what he said. And if he happens to be reading this and notices I got some details wrong, I'm so sorry, amigo. I'll do my best. Ricardo was just 19 in the late 50s, a young man living in Havana who found that he wasn't like other girls. Ricardo's words, not mine.